All right, so welcome back. Wow, long time since we've done a show. So this has been 2 months now. Actually, our last show was June 30th. So me and Sully have had a fantastic summer of completely not sticking consistently through with the show. So welcome back.
Yeah, we're kind of scumbags for this. I'm sorry, but we're back. We're better than ever. And I have a mustache now. That's been long awaited. And we're good to go. Let's roll with it.
Yeah, and I'm clean shaved because I need to start applying for jobs and stuff like that. So been doing a little part-time work, but just to bring my hopes up a little bit. We'll see. We'll do that. So, anyways,
we will break some news. This was probably going to be the last podcast we do in Lee, Mass. More likely than not, the next one we're going to do will be I will be in Texas. So
yeah, that's right. So I want to congratulate my friend Sully on accepting a newspaper job in what part of Texas again? Sorry, I heard it was like 45 minutes near Austin. That's all I remembered.
That's all you need to know. It's 45 minutes outside of Austin.
Okay, all right. So congratulations to Josh as well. So that's great news for him. So, all right, so we'll get right into it. So a couple things we're going to get into today. First, we'll start talking about Sully. I went to the U.S. Open yesterday, so I'll ask a couple of questions about his experiences there. I'm not a tennis guy. Are you a tennis guy? I don't know anything about tennis.
I dubbed myself the tennis guy after yesterday. So I'm now a tennis guy.
Send me a Snapchat of that guy who's warming up, and I was like, I don't know who the hell this is. I'm like, this does absolutely nothing for me. I'm like, is this guy famous? Is he good? Is he just a random Joe Schmo? I don't know. So we'll talk a little bit about his U.S. Open experience. We're also going to have a big college football edition today. As you couldn't tell, I got my Buckeye necklace on right now and my jersey. I know I look like a huge asshole, but it's okay. Sully's got the Ohio State hat on, except it's on backwards.
Here we go.
So we're ready to go for that. We're gonna be implementing a few new segments into the show with a thing called Would You Rather. A couple questions we'll be asking. So, all right, we'll get right to it. So, how was it? How was the U.S. Open? Was it fun? Was it boring? Was it weird? What like? I know how tennis people can, because isn't like golf. You gotta be quiet. You can't really say much. You gotta your phone to be on silent. So just walk me through a little bit of the day.
All right, so my first hot take of the day is that I think the tennis community is way better than the golf community. And I love golf. Like, I'm down to go out, play a good 18 holes.
See, I just played golf for the first time in my life 2 weeks ago. First, 9 holes. I've never played before. And I played pitch and putt when I was 10, but that doesn't count. But I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm team golf now, because until I start meeting some real pricks in golf, then I really I can't say much. But, all right, so what is the difference between the golf people and the tennis people that made you team tennis?
I feel like a lot of people who are tennis people, they're also people who play tennis. No one's just like a tennis fan, and they don't, people are football fans, but they've never stepped foot on a field.
That's the same thing as golf, though.
Yeah, I think for the most part, but the big difference is you can be athletic, or you can be athletic and be a golfer, but you can also be really freaking out of shape. Me. And
you're talking. What about Rory McIlroy? What about him? He's pretty jacked.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. No, you can be a professional. What I'm saying is that if you're just an average Joe and you're a golfer, that doesn't mean you're athletic in any means. But it means you're athletic more likely than not if you're an average Joe who plays tennis, at least a little bit.
What about John Daly? He's athletic.
Not really athletic.
I mean, it takes a lot of athletic ability to pass your college weight test by just surviving solely on cigarettes and whiskey for the last 2 weeks to drop all that weight. So I think that does kind of take a little bit of an athletic ability, if you ask me.
So we're gonna start with that, but also I think the hat game at the U.S. Open, very strong. I've learned this. You need to have either a visor, a bucket hat, or a really loud, obnoxious polo hat that just kind of screams like rich person that spent way too much money on an ugly hat. You have to have one of those three, and I had none of them. I didn't have any, so that was my first mistake.
I'm with you on all of that, except for the bucket hat. Bucket hat has to go. It's awful.
I'm all in, dude. I'm trying to buy a bucket hat.
No. The bucket hat is terrible.
Wow.
The only time you wear a bucket hat, if you're somewhere in the Louisiana Bayou and hunting for alligators or something like that, I can't get behind the bucket hat. I just think I don't know. I just think it's weird.
I'm trying to be the bucket hat guy, but I think more importantly, I'm trying to be the visor guy. I don't know. I got to feel this out because I'm headed to Texas, and I'm trying to find out what's cool there and what's not, whether it's bucket hat, whether it's visor. We're kind of trying to go in one direction or the other.
I agree with you. Team visor all the way. Visor, absolutely.
I like the visor. If you had asked me that 3 years ago, I would have told you were a big idiot. But so hat game at the Open, very strong. Also, the coolest match I saw was between these two guys. One was from Uruguay and one was from Spain, and I couldn't tell you their names. One was like Puervas, and one was something else that was Spanish. It was lit. It was unreal because the whole Spanish-speaking community that came to the match, from whether they're from Queens or whether they came in from Europe or whatever, or South America, everyone was there rooting for these two guys, going nuts. Like, you're supposed to be quiet when people serve, kind of like golfing when someone's teeing off. But like during the match, it gets pretty rowdy. And there was just this one guy, and he kept chanting like, "Let's go, Puervas," like right as he was about to serve. And it was awesome. And like, I thought he was going to get kicked out, and he didn't, and that was cool. And it went into to a tiebreaker too, and it ended up being a 10-8 tiebreaker, which is a pretty long tiebreaker in tennis. It was awesome. It was lit. There's
How long does that go on for? Like, how many days is the U.S. Open? Is it just one, or is there like
2 weeks? 2 weeks long.
That's a little too much for me. Like, of one event, I guess. I mean, I don't know, because it's different. Because I mean, I guess it's because I'm not a tennis guy. I mean, someone will probably think, "Oh yeah, you're crazy. You're being a hypocrite because you've watched 16 weeks of football, like figure it out, or like 162 games of baseball." But I mean, a golf tournament is one weekend. So, like, that's easy to find. It's like it starts out on a Thursday or Friday, then it ends on a Sunday. This thing, it goes 2 weeks long.
Hear me out. This is why I think it's a big deal. Because it's tournament style, all you have to do is pay attention, and you can feel like you're educated because you can follow really closely to one or two athletes because, like, let's be realistic. You know the names that are going to end up being at the end of the tournament. Okay, I watched Nick Kyrgios and Daniel. You don't know who either of those are. We'll get to Kyrgios.
I probably can name 5 tennis players that are males. I mean, obviously Serena and Venus Williams, but 3 of them are probably still playing, and 2 of them I think are retired, which is like Andy Roddick and Pete Sampras. Yeah. And then there's like Djokovic, Federer, and Rafael Nadal. That's it for me. I could not name another person. Well, that's playing. Like Arthur Ashe, obviously, like those guys, but.
So you need to start paying attention to Nick Kyrgios. He's kind of a dick, but he's awesome. He's 21 years old. Apparently, he's a huge Pokemon Go fan, which I think is a riot. At one point, dude, listen to this. At one point, I'm standing like 2 rows in back. I'm right up near the court, and he's going back and forth. He's playing doubles. His partner's this guy from Britain who's pretty good. He's won like $200,000 in winnings, and he gets real close to the net. And his kid's serving it back to him, returning it with all his might. And Kyrgios just keeps going. Like, no expression on his face. 4 or 5 times in a row. Finally, after the 5th time, the ball gets kind of popped up, and he just rears back. And he spikes the ball. So I don't even know if spike's the right term. He comes down on the ball so hard that it hits the court and bounces up and over the fence behind the players. And he turns around, and he looks at the ball boy, and he motions for the towel, and he goes, "How can I take this game seriously when it's so easy?" He's kind of
that's tennis to me seems like a really, really like tough sport to like get down. Just I don't know. Like I'm trying to bear with you here on my input. Like, I'm very fascinated that you went to the U.S. Open and stuff. But I can't come up with anything right now. It's awful. I don't know anything about tennis. I don't know. I just can't do it.
All right. Well, I'm not a tennis guy either, but I had to cover so much of it this year because I guess I can say this because I'm leaving Berkshire County, but Berkshire County is so small and like kind of uppity and rich, and the only really good sports in this area are tennis and golf because the kids grow up and they start playing those 2 sports from a really young age and they get private lessons. So the only good spring sports team in my area, besides 2 of the baseball teams, was tennis. So I would just cover all of these tennis teams because I didn't want to write about like teams that lost.
I guess you're the tennis guy now. I mean,
so I'm the tennis guy, dude. I'm embracing it. I'm gonna go get a visor and a bucket hat, both. Wear them at the same time. I'm going to take lessons. I'm going to start. I don't know. I'm all in on this sport.
Jesus, I don't think I'll ever be, but maybe like of course if someone gets famous enough, I'll be on the train, I guess, to support them, and I probably know a little bit about them. But until then, I'm just going to know those 3 guys that are in there right now, like what I just mentioned. So yeah, I'll go with that. So,
You want to play tennis this weekend?
Probably not. No. I don't think so.
Maybe.
College football's on this weekend. I'm not playing tennis. Are you kidding me?
You're not going to play tennis on a Sunday morning? Come on.
No, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play. I'm going to be too tired from the day before. Plus, your team's playing on Sunday. You should cancel everything out on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. Why are they going
Texas on Sunday? Yeah, it's at 7 o'clock, but you have a perfect excuse not to do anything during the day. You know, you got to drink a lot and then get ready for the game that night. So, I mean, it's like, it's important.
I have to move. I'm only giving myself an hour and a half window on Sunday night to start drinking before the game, because otherwise nothing's going to get done. I'm going to have nothing to move. Everything's going to be like upstanding by the time I have to go. It's going to be a mess. So
you're sounding old right now. Jeez. All right, so let's get into it. So finally something I think we both can talk about here. I mean, glad Sully had a great time at the U.S. Open. But all right, so here we go. So college football is back tomorrow. Actually, it's been back. So the other day I put this thing up on Facebook, and I thought it was just one of these Patriot fans just being annoying, like, oh, there's a game on tonight kind of thing, because the Pats are playing in a preseason game. And then I found out that Hawaii and California played in Australia. What the hell was up with that? I don't know. That was weird. But
you know who's Australian?
Ohio State punter.
Nick Kyrgios, the guy from the U.S. Open that I watched yesterday.
I was trying to make it football-oriented, but you brought me back to tennis. You're putting my brain in a freaking pretzel right now, all right?
Keep going. Sorry.
Anyways, so get ready for the season. Obviously, AP poll came out a couple weeks ago, top 25. We wanted to do an episode earlier about this. So, I mean, how have you looked at the top 25? If you have any initial thoughts, some surprises, some things that didn't surprise you, you go first.
I only have one. I have a scorching hot take. Ready? Are you ready for this?
Is it Michigan at 7?
No. We'll get to Michigan. But that's not my take. My take is that LSU at 5 is a joke.
That was gonna be my second guess, and I know a lot of people are kind of surprised about that.
I don't know. I listened to a part of my take the other day, and the guy they had on for an interview had them in his college football championship, in his Final Four. I think that's a joke. They're going to implode just like they did last year. Just why? Because Leonard Fournette's a year older? No.
Yeah, and I agree. LSU is that team that you definitely associate them with just the running back. I know a lot of people talk about Brandon Harris, like him needing to step up, the quarterback over there. The thing with the SEC though is, I can't rule against Bama. I can't. And as much as I don't like them, I don't care who the hell they're playing at quarterback. That's exactly what I criticized them for last year, was the fact that they didn't have a QB. And I thought that, what was his name? Who was the quarterback last year?
Coker?
Coker, yeah. I was going to say Jake Locker, and then I realized he was the Washington guy. But I'm not going to criticize Bama because they've proven to me that they can hang with the elite and stuff. And I know LSU has kind of had a little bit of a bumpy ride the last few years. But I agree. But I do think Fournette's going to have a really, really good year. I really do think that they have a great shot at coming back at Bama. I think he's going to run a lot harder against them this year. But to have them at number 5 after that season-ending explosion they had last year, that's kind of ridiculous to me.
Real quick before we move on with this, I don't mean to keep bringing this back to yesterday, but there was a guy wearing a Bama hat at the U.S. Open yesterday, and I said something to him, and he goes, "Oh, you a Bama fan?" And I was like, "Oh, no, not at all." And I was like, "But I lived with one my freshman year." And he goes, "Oh, no way." I said, "Yep, I lived with a Bama fan, lived with a Michigan fan. It was real tough to try and get the Notre Dame games on, especially when I was in college." We started talking college football, and he was
that sounds like an absolute nightmare of a room to live in. I would probably transfer.
Especially considering it was the year before Notre Dame lost to Bama in the national championship, which was even worse. They had a terrible season. They went 6-5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But kind of moving on with the top 25. I don't want to go too deep into it. I think Stanford is ranked too low. But at the same time, they have such a tough schedule that I feel like they need to be ranked higher right now because
I think Stanford's pretty good where they are right now. I know McCaffrey's a great football player, but they lost their quarterback. And say what you want about Kevin Hogan, but the guy was a senior quarterback who had a lot of experience, and it definitely kept that team in check. So I honestly think that they're at the number 8 spot right now, and I think that's a pretty good spot for them. I definitely think they're going to move up. I see one of these teams in the top, probably I'm looking at Florida State right now, and Florida State could lose the first game of the year. They're playing Ole Miss on Monday. So Stanford could be moving up. Everybody could be moving up at the end of the weekend. So, I mean, there are not a lot of gimme games, but there could be some upsets. So I think Stanford's pretty good at number 8.
I have 2 scorching hot takes. This is one of them. You can take it or leave it. You're probably gonna leave it. Utah will crack the top 10 this year.
I mean, I don't doubt it. They were pretty good last year. They had a solid schedule. I mean, they had some. I thought they had like 1 or 2 losses. That was kind of embarrassing, but I mean, that's not saying much. I think people expect that to them now. Utah has been a pretty good team the last 5 or 6 years. They should be at least a top 25 team each year, considering with like at least some of the national spotlight they've gotten. So, what's your second?
Houston will be in the discussion at some point late in the season for the college football playoff. Top 4.
I think that's a given, though. I mean, Houston opens up the season against Oklahoma, and then the rest of the season they don't play anybody except maybe Louisville. Other than that, I really don't. They should be an 11-1 team to finish the season.
Right, but you know that the committee wants nothing to do with them.
Of course they don't. If they beat Oklahoma, they're gonna be terrified.
Yep, if they beat Oklahoma, they're gonna be top 3, top 4 very early on, I think.
And that's a game that they could lose that game. Oklahoma could very well lose to Houston. Houston was a very solid team last year. They played Florida State very, very well in the Peach Bowl last year. They have a couple guys coming. Well, they have a bunch of guys coming back on their team actually, and that game is in Houston. That's a road game for Oklahoma. I think that the crowd's going to be fired up, but I mean, we're talking Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield and was it Samajay? Is that Pernine? Is that the running back for them? He's pretty good too. That 1-2 punch there. It's going to be. I probably completely butchered his name actually, but I expect that to be a very, very good game between Houston and Oklahoma. That's a noon game, by the way. Gonna have to get up early for that on Saturday. So,
what's your best game on Saturday? What's the game? Obviously, you're looking forward to Ohio State.
No, Ohio State's playing Bowling Green. I should not be looking forward to that game. The only reason why I'm looking forward to it is because college football is back. If that game is close or by any contest a sign of what Ohio State did in the beginning part of the season, I want nothing to do with that game. I hope it's a blowout. But I would have to say I'm really looking forward to the LSU-Wisconsin game. 1, because the game's at Lambeau Field. 2,
that's where College Game Day is.
Yep, College Game Day's there. I'm expecting Aaron Rodgers to be the celebrity guest speaker there. He will probably be the spokesman. I think that we're going to see how good LSU really is. I mean, Wisconsin's been a pretty decent Big Ten team over the last few years. This could be a big game for LSU. I expect them to win by 2 touchdowns at least, but I think it's going to be not too bad for a little bit, and then around like the third or the fourth quarter, I think they'll pull away. I'm really looking forward to USC and Bama, though. I think that game is going to be slow at first, and I think Bama's going to run away with it.
That's my top game. Before you go further, I think that is going to be the best game of the day.
I like Oklahoma-Houston. That's my game of the one I'm looking forward to the most on Saturday.
I'm a little nervous about Notre Dame, Texas. Not really. I do think Texas last year had the tendency to kind of mess around in the first half. They did it against Navy. They did it against they were late to kind of jump out against Stanford. That ended up costing them the game, possibly the college football playoff. So looking forward to hoping they can get out on the right foot. And I'm really disappointed I'm not going to be there because I'll literally be out there 1 week later.
Before we go any further, let's have a moment of silence for the University of Massachusetts. They are going to SEC country this weekend to play the Florida Gators. So moment of silence for them.
Our buddy Connor.
For UMass.
Our buddy Connor is going to be so pissed because he went to UMass, but he's a huge, relatively big Florida fan. I don't know how big he is now, but
that game's going to get disgusting. I don't care if Florida's 25. UMass is awful.
Yeah, but you know how much money they're going to get from that game? Like $3 million.
Like $1 million or something like that. You know what's another good game on this weekend? Number 18 Georgia is going to North Carolina. That'll be a good game.
That will be a good game. I'm kind of intrigued. Elijah Hood's a year older. Fun fact, the one time I've been to North Carolina's campus, he moved into his freshman dorm building a semester early so he could start taking college classes and get a head start in football. He's actually a pretty smart kid. You follow him on Twitter. He tweets about politics and stuff a lot. And really looking forward to seeing what that team can do, especially with all the stuff that's kind of been around that program because of academic flaws. I won't say controversy. I'll say flaws. But hopefully they can do some damage before the sanctions come down and they have to start from scratch. Because
I mean, you always got to worry about that. I mean, I have to worry about it every season. Being an Ohio State guy, that I'm worried that like we did something wrong and cheating in recruiting. You got the #1 recruiting class coming into next year. I'm gonna find out 5 years from now what the hell we did wrong to get these guys. So, I mean, it's always something you have in the back of your head. All right, so another big game that not a lot of people. Well, people are definitely talking about it, but like I think a lot of people are starting to like not. It's not on the radar as much. #2 Clemson. They have to go to Auburn first game. Now, say what you want about Auburn. Auburn was abysmal last year, but they are still Auburn. They're still an SEC team. They still will probably be a above 500 team. Do you think that game's going to give any problems to Clemson? I'm not saying they're going to lose, but do you think that Clemson's going to go in there, run over 35 points and win, or do you think it'll be a pretty close game?
I couldn't tell you a single player on the Auburn roster. So I maybe that's my own.
No, it's not. They were terrible last year. They had nobody.
I don't know a single person on that roster. So, no, I don't think they're going to have a problem at all. Maybe a little bit of jitters to start off with, but there's so much hype around Watson, and he is a heck of a quarterback that I think he's going to come out slinging.
I think that Watson, hopefully, I hope he doesn't have the same season as Ohio State did last year, but there is a lot of hype going into Clemson. I really think the only reason why they're not #1 is because they didn't win the whole thing last year. They're virtually the same team as they were last year. I expect them to run the table. I think they're going to win every single game this year. The only hiccups I see possibly at Florida State. That's the only other one. The ACC championship game where they're most likely had to play North Carolina, and then maybe this Auburn game. Other than that, I don't really see where they like screw it up.
You see North Carolina doing better and playing for that ACC championship over Florida State.
I still think that game is BS. That game is still BS. The onside kick that gave Clemson the factor, that kept Ohio State out of the playoff too. They were very, very lucky to get out of that ACC championship game. That was right down to the wire. So I still have that in the back of my head. A little biased, I can admit, but I'm not counting North Carolina out. I think that they're going to have a tough time with Georgia, but I still think that they're going to be one of those teams that ruins a season for like a Florida State or a Clemson. So I'm looking at both those teams right now. Clemson and Florida State both have very, very tough games. Auburn for Clemson. But on Monday, Florida State's got to play Ole Miss. Ole Miss is #11 team in the country. That's not an easy game.
No, and it's not. And it's at Ole Miss, right? Or is it in Tallahassee?
It's Ole Miss. It's in Tallahassee.
It's in Tallahassee. Okay, so that makes it a little bit easier. I don't know. I'm pretty high on Ole Miss. I think they're finally starting to come back. I think that resurgence has been a long time coming. It started making waves 2 years ago. Excuse me, last year. It had, I don't know, what did they finish at last year, to be honest? I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head.
Ole Miss, I think they were 10-3.
10-3. All right, so I don't know.
They did beat Alabama, the only team.
They didn't beat Alabama?
They were the only team to beat Alabama last year.
That's right. That happened early on, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Chad Kelly will be a good quarterback for them this year. I'm excited for him. I think Ole Miss will be a pretty decent team this year.
I'm just excited it's back. I was like trying to make plans this weekend, and I was like, wait a minute. Nah, I'm not going to have any time because I'm going to sit in front of the TV the entire time.
All right, so let's get to our picks.
Hold on, before I go on, big game I'm worried about tonight. UConn, University of Maine.
You butchered it, dude. I had that question ready for you. I had 3 wild card games ready to ask you about, and Maine and UConn was one of them.
Well, that one's kind of worrisome because Maine is okay this year. They weren't very good last year, but UConn is kind of a shit show, as we know. Like they've gotten better. They had a couple good games last year. Didn't they beat Sam Houston State last year? I think they did. So they're not a horrible team, but Maine can absolutely beat them and or make it a close one, and that is UNH's rival. That is UNH's that is not going to go well. And UNH has to play San Diego State, and there's no chance. They have no chance in hell at even putting a dent in that team. So
they're going to San Diego?
I would love to. They are.
Where are they going? Is the game at San Diego?
The game's in San Diego. Yeah. Shout out to my buddy Ben Non. He's traveling with the team to do the play-by-play for that one. But I
thought he was on. I thought it was a guy who was on the team.
Oh no! Shout out to
your friend. You could do a shout out, and then we can have a moment of silence for him.
Shout out to my boy Casey DeAndre. Lock it down.
right.
But moment of silence because you're probably going to lose.
Moment of silence for anyone who's going to get murdered this weekend in football.
But that's the thing is that Maine has a chance at making that a good game, and this is the week where you can kind of set the tone in the FCS. I don't know. No one wants to hear me talk about FCS football, so I'm going to shut up now. But
all right, we'll get to our picks right now then. So all the games we just talked about, I'll run them down real quick. Let me know what you got. We'll keep a track, and we're going to do an end of the year standings on both college football and the NFL. Let's see who is a lot smarter than who at knowing their stuff about football. So I'll keep in track of all this. So first game, we'll just do the big games, not every one of them, but Oklahoma, Houston. Who you got?
Oklahoma.
Damn, I want to go with Houston so bad.
Go with you won't. You won't.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston. Tom Herman's the coach down in Houston, Ohio State guy. He knows how to win big games. I'm going with Houston. Big upset. All right, LSU at Wisconsin.
I will go with Wisconsin. I am not riding high on the LSU train.
LSU is going to run through them. LSU big. Okay, another game we did not talk about that could be an upset. Number 16 UCLA at Texas A&M, who's unranked.
Ooh, yeah, but they got some votes for the top 25. I think they had 81. I'll go with UCLA though. I'm not gonna, but that's gonna be my future stomping ground. I'm planning to go to College Station a lot.
I am going to go with Texas A&M.
All right.
Another upset. Okay, number 18 Georgia at number 22 North Carolina.
Carolina.
I'm going Georgia. Nick Chubb he's a really, really good football player. UMass at Florida.
UMass.
You sure about that?
Never mind, Florida.
No, that's probably a good idea. I'm gonna go with Florida too. Maybe. We'll see how that turns out.
That before we go on, UMass will never be good at football ever again. They will never have a good football team.
Be good at football again. Have they ever been good at football?
Yeah, they won a Division I AA championship back in like 2008 or something, 2007.
I had no idea about that.
They went to the semifinals 3 years in a row, and they lost in one championship and they won in another. They were UNH's big rival before they got bumped up, and now, like, I absolutely think UNH could beat UMass because no one wants to go there. It's one thing when you're winning at the second best level, but it's another thing when you're getting your ass kicked.
All right, USC, Alabama.
I'm gonna go with Bama. I'm not picking against them yet.
I am not hitting against them either. I'm going with Alabama. All right, Clemson at Auburn.
I'm going with Clemson.
Yeah, I can't go against Clemson yet either. I think they're going to run the table, so I'm going to go Clemson over Auburn. All right, here's going to be a tough one for you. Notre Dame at Texas.
Notre Dame. Running the ship, baby. Running the ship. Let's go. Let's go.
I am going to go with Notre Dame as well. I honestly would not be surprised if Texas won the game, but here's a fun fact. Texas has never beaten Notre Dame ever. They're 0-4.
Wow, I did not know that.
That is their worst record against any Division I opponent in their school history. They have never beat the Fighting Irish. I think they're going to be 0-5 still.
Wow.
Okay, Monday is the Ole Miss Florida State game. Who you got?
I'll go with Ole Miss. Yeah, I'll go with Ole Miss. I'm pretty confident, as you can tell.
I am going to go with Florida State. I can't. Okay. I honestly, and this is another one of those games that could trip me up, but I think Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the country. I think he's a close second to Leonard Fournette. I think they'll win that game, but it's going to be close. I think Ole Miss is a pretty good football team. I mean, this is a good team that beat Bama last year, so I mean, they can roll the big boys. All right, here's your 3 wild card games. We already talked about one of them: Maine versus Connecticut. Who you got?
I got Connecticut. I hope because that throws a whole new aspect into this season. Like Maine could go undefeated if they beat UConn by some measure of the imagination. I would hate that so much. I'd be so.
You root for Ohio State. I'll root for UNH. I'll go with Connecticut for your state.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So here are the 2 wild card games I was interested in. I don't know what's your take on them. West Virginia at Missouri.
I'm actually really looking forward to this game. I'm gonna go with Mizzou.
I will not root for Mizzou after they decided to kill those puppies with acid, and they just have the awful. Their track record over the last year has been abysmal. Nothing's going right for that university right now. They probably will go 0-12. I'm picking West Virginia.
I forgot about that story. That's messed up. I'm actually. But
you can say he's messed up all you want, but they literally did this to puppies. Are you kidding me?
Let's talk about lately. You couldn't pick like almost dead cats. Like get a couple cats from the Sarah McLachlan commercial, as Big Cat always says, and
yeah, they're just. I don't know what the hell is wrong with the people down there right now. They get a lot of problems on their hands at the university. So
it's not.
Honestly, I really hope at some point things are going to start turning around for them, because some good stuff's got to come out of that university at some point. All right, last one we'll talk about Oregon State, Minnesota.
Ooh, no, I honestly have no idea. So I am wearing. Let's see. I turned down a job in Oregon earlier this year, so I'm going to go with Oregon. No, wait. I feel like that. I'm going to go with Minnesota because I turned down a job.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Big Ten, baby. I'm going with the Golden Gophers. I think they'll win that.
Okay.
I think they'll have a pretty good team this year. All right. So we got two more things I want to talk about between college football. Two things. Name me 4 or 5 Heisman candidates that you think are, like, at least 4 or 5 guys that you think will win the Heisman candidate. Or if you only have one and you think it's going to be a complete one-man show, let me know. And then afterwards, we'll talk about our college football playoff prediction.
Well, obviously McCaffrey, obviously Deshaun Watson. I will put Deshaun Kaiser in that mix because I thought he did fantastic on short notice last year. And I think he'll be able to bring it again. So that's 3. Leonard Fournette. That's 4. I'll stick with that 4. I don't know. I'll stick with those 4.
I have 6 guys written down right now. That's gonna be one of these 6, I think. Some guys are saying Seth Russell with Baylor was like a guy in the top 10 that like could potentially have a good season. I think Baylor, with all these distractions that are going on and like the disaster they have, with like all the rape allegations and stuff, they're gonna have a lot of problems this year. So I don't know. I didn't see Seth as that much of a elite guy that lead a university like that. So I don't know. I'm not sure about Baylor. Chad Kelly is another guy, but all right, here are my 6. Christian McCaffrey will be 1. Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma. He'll put up some good numbers. Dalvin Cook, running back from Florida State. He'll have a good year, I think. My man, JT Barrett from Ohio State. I expect him to have a good season without any distractions and not having to worry about getting replaced by Cardell Jones, and at least like a consistent offense. And then Leonard Fournette from LSU was the other guy, and I think Deshaun Watson's the favorite, so I think that he's going to be the guy that potentially will win. If they run the table and he has a decent year, he'll win the Heisman, I think.
Did I say Baker Mayfield?
I think you said Baker Mayfield, yeah.
I think he was the first guy I said. I immediately I didn't say JT Barrett because I knew you were going to say him, so I was like, I'll leave Zach. He's obviously going to take him.
Well, I know that Ohio State's got a lot of young guys this year in the team. I mean, they have big potential of guys that are missing, obviously, from last year. I mean, he's got a lot of good young wide receivers to work with. I don't expect it to, like, fully click. But at the same time, I know how he is when he's playing without all this pressure on him. They gave Ohio State no chance 2 years ago when Braxton Miller got hurt, and J.T. Barrett led him to a practically, besides the Virginia Tech loss, almost a flawless season. So that's my standpoint on it. We'll see how it turns out. I expect Watson to win the Heisman, though, if Clemson's going to run the table. So, all right. So now that we got that out of the way, final thing. Give me your 4 way too early college football playoff teams. 1 to 4.
All right. I told myself I wasn't going to be too serious on this because it's ridiculous. There's no point in making legitimate picks this early that when I have nothing to go off of. But I'm going to say Stanford.
Is that number 1?
No, number 4.
I agree with you. I had Stanford at 4.
I will go Stanford, and this might come back to bite me in the butt, but I think this would be really interesting, so that's why I'm going with it. Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson.
So you're having 2 Big Ten teams in.
Yeah, I do. Is that too big?
I think that either one of those teams gets eliminated by the end of that Ohio State-Michigan game.
You're probably right.
Because I know people were arguing online and like even on ESPN because some people were having Clemson and Florida State in the playoff, and then people were like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? Like you can't have two ACC teams in." But I don't know. I mean we never know what the committee's going to do. But do you want me to let you know what I think? Like my
Hold on. How ridiculous do you think mine is? Is that too ballsy?
I expect what your top two teams are probably going to be. I have Clemson at 1. I think Clemson's going to run the table. I think they're going to go undefeated. 2, I have Alabama. I think Alabama's going to win the SEC. 3, I have Ohio State because I think Ohio State will get revenge on Michigan State. They might lose to Oklahoma, but I think they're going to win that game against Michigan because the game's in Columbus this year. And I think Michigan's quarterback problem, or they don't have a set guy, or at least nobody that we really like seen or know about. So I think with that being a problem for them and JT Barrett having more experience, I think that will lead them to the victory. And I think if Ohio State gets to the Big Ten championship, they will have a good shot at winning it, considering that the west part of the Big Ten is awful. I say what you want, but Michigan State, and Ohio State are in the East, and I just don't see anybody else who could really compete with one of those 3 teams. So one of those 3 teams will win it. I'm going to go with Ohio State at 3, and Stanford I had at number 4.
I think that there's too much pressure on the number 1. I mean, you saw it firsthand last year with Ohio State. A lot of people gave them a lot of crap. When they started to win games, but not by as big of margins as were intended, or maybe they were blowing it against some lower level teams and playing really bad in the first half. That hurt them more, I think, than the Michigan State loss. If they had played flawless football throughout the rest of the season and then lose to Michigan State.
They needed that loss to happen. They would have not beaten Michigan as bad as they did if they had not lost to MSU. I honestly think they might have lost to Michigan had they snuck by MSU. They might have lost to Michigan because they got so much heat, the coaching staff, at the end of that game because they ran the ball so much. They didn't run the ball as much with Zeke. That was the game plan going into Michigan, and it ended up working. And it took a lot of pressure off the quarterback. So I think that a lot of distractions is definitely a problem. I mean, you're right. I did see it, but I don't know. I mean, we were unanimous number 1 last year, so I think that had a lot to do with it. And there was a lot of distractions with the NFL picks and all that. I don't know if Clemson really has that going in for them or Alabama because there's a lot of question marks this year. So I think it's going to be a very awesome year, a very different year than last year. So
you talk about Clemson having a lot of pressure, and I don't disagree with that, but it's a different type of pressure because they didn't win everything last year. They surprised a lot of people. They really established themselves as a powerhouse. They didn't lose a lot of players, which is huge. But they aren't defending anything except that ACC title, which I think they're still kind of a lock to take back again unless someone else has a ridiculous season.
Clemson in the ACC?
Yeah.
I very well think Florida State could beat them. But I think that also I also believe that game's going to go either way. I know you're obviously like, oh, well, obviously one of the 2 teams is going to win it. But I think the winner of that game gets into the playoff. And I think both those teams will be undefeated when they play each other. That'll be a big, big game. They might even be 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3. And I think that the winner of the Clemson-Florida State game will get into the college football playoff and most likely be the number 1 seed. I do not see Alabama running the table. They will get to the SEC championship game, but they got to play Tennessee. They got to play Tennessee. They got to play Ole Miss. They got to play Mississippi State. They got to play A&M, USC. It's a tough schedule. So if they were to do that, I'd be very impressed and shocked. But we'll see. It all depends.
I just don't think that Bama is going to be able to hold that pressure up without an established quarterback who's hard enough. And yeah,
they'll get in. I think they'll get in, but I don't think they're going to run the table.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on with college football?
No, that about wraps it up. I'm excited for Saturday. That's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited for tonight, man. Let's go UConn.
Yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting that game's on tonight. So there's the college football talk. We'll recap this again next week, and when we bring that up, see who won the most games. I'll keep track of who picked what, and then we'll tally them up, and we'll fight about it next week. All right. Final thoughts. What'd you get?
We have one more segment.
I was going to get into it. Would you rather segment? So we're doing a new segment called Would You Rather. Just going to ask a couple questions, see what goes at. I have one question for Sully today. Just going to be a bunch of random stuff, infiltrating, just disgusting stuff, or with sports. Who knows? But, all right. So, Sully, would you rather drink a whole bottle of Tabasco sauce, or have Junichi Suzawa pitch the ninth inning of a one-run game that you have $1 million on.
Oh. Is this 2016 present day Junichi Tozawa?
No, this is 2016. This year, I suck Junichi Suzawa.
I actually really like hot sauce, and that's not really.
A whole bottle of Tabasco?
Yeah, like a normal bottle of Tabasco is only like that thick, right? Like that big around, maybe that big around.
$1 million, though.
Wait.
You have $1 million on this game.
Yeah.
All Tozawa has to do is get through the ninth inning on a one-run lead, but it's just Tozawa from this year.
There's no way that happens.
You're giving him a 0% chance.
I don't think what's the score when he comes into the game?
It's a one-run game. You're up one.
Absolutely not. Absolutely, I'll take the hot sauce.
Take the hot sauce. So all right. So even though if he gets to the inning and gets $1 million, Sully is still going to drink a whole bottle of Tabasco sauce before he trusts Tozawa to pitch a game with $1 million on with a one-run lead in the ninth.
What are you gonna give your take on that too, or?
I'm gonna go with the hot sauce as well.
You were guilting me into that. Making it seem like I made a dumb decision.
I was just picking your brain a little bit. Yeah, you did not make a dumb decision at all. He's awful.
He's terrible.
In the game, he gets completely demolished.
He's just old and he's overworked. That's what it is.
He's terrible. All right, you got a question for me? What do you got?
All right, would you rather only make Harambe jokes for the rest of your life, or never get to make another Harambe joke for the rest of your life?
Never make another Harambe joke for the rest of my life. Harambe it's overused, man. I'm sick of it.
But is it though? Because
Bantu the gorilla just died the other day in Mexico. We can start talking about him.
Well, another gorilla was just born in the Pittsburgh or Philadelphia Zoo.
Do we since this Harambe thing happens, everything with the gorillas is just a big deal now. Like every time a gorilla is born or a gorilla dies, it's like we got to celebrate like Harambe now. Like
I really don't know. I saw the video for the first time like last week. Video of him dragging the kid. I don't know. I didn't have a take when it happened. That
hit close to home. I knew all about it when it happened because that happened in Cincinnati, and I was still in Ohio when that was going on. So, make Harambe jokes for the rest of your life instead of never make one ever again.
I probably would make them for the rest of my life.
I laugh at the Harambe jokes, but I don't make them personally. So I guess where I side in this is that I think it's funny, but I don't myself make Harambe jokes.
I guess it depends what you constitute a joke. I don't know, like the guy who DM'd the Cincinnati Zoo and was like, "Is there smoking allowed in the zoo?" And they said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Really? Because I'm pretty sure y'all smoked my boy Harambe." Like that's funny, even though that's kind of messed up.
Or the gorilla glue. It's called Gorilla Glue because Harambe was the glue that held the nation together.
Yep. I honestly though, I think there's so much bad shit that's going on that Harambe's been a really good outlet for people to like make fun of hot takes, especially because everyone.
The Cincinnati Zoo wanted an apology, like stop making Harambe jokes. Well, don't kill the freaking gorilla next time, then. Don't let kids get into the cage.
I just think it's funny because a lot of people had really hot takes. Like, name me one gorilla expert out there who actually knows what they're talking about.
No one. There's just a bunch of this is so messed up. You're making fun of a gorilla's death. I'm like, well, guess what? They probably shouldn't have shot the gorilla. Like, stupid kid got in the cage. Like, how does that happen at a zoo? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just think it's like one good thing that's come out of 2016 because nothing else good has happened in 2016. It's been a pretty shitty year.
Yeah, so, but, all right, we'll look up after that, but that's our
one
for us.
One more for you.
Oh, yeah, one more for me. Okay. It's the only one I had for you, so.
All right.
Go.
Would you rather?
I already know where this is going.
Yeah, you know exactly what direction it's going. Would you rather hang out in the middle of, let's say, name me like a really redneck place. You'd rather hang out in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Well, what about like the county where the Yellow King and True Detective lived?
Ooh, that's pretty redneck. But different vibe, different type of redneck. I'll say, would you rather be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with Colin Kaepernick wearing nothing but American flag apparel. So like those old Navy shirts that used to have the flags on the front, and like the chubbies, like those really short shorts that are made in the American flag. Like I saw American flag tennis shoes the other day, decked out in American flag apparel, or bare knuckle box Richie Incognito.
I am 100% going to go dressed All-American with Colin Kaepernick.
I feel like he just no matter what.
I mean, obviously he hates the USA right now, but like honestly, I don't hate the USA. People know I don't hate it. People know that he hates it. He's going to get all the ridicule. I'm not the one who's going to look like an idiot walking around. So
but I still feel like you're just going to get the shit beat out of you either way, because Kaepernick's going to be pissed off and just start throwing punches, and then Cognito, it's like a fair fight. You put myself
in a southern town that has a lot of United States pride. If he lays a hand on me, I'm gonna get a group of rednecks to mug him and take over the situation. I got nothing to worry about.
That's true. That's true. You did pick the right town.
So, had it been somewhere, if you pick somewhere like San Francisco, then I might have a problem, or UC Berkeley campus.
See, that's why I blame this whole thing on him being in the Bay Area. If you were playing in like Miami right now, no, not even Miami. If you were playing in Buffalo or New England or anywhere like that, he'd be fine, you know. But he's hanging out with all those hippies too much, and boom, stuff happens like that. And please don't take this as a serious take. I couldn't care less what Colin Kaepernick does for everyone out there.
Free speech.
Yeah. He can fucking I'm sorry, I shouldn't drop the F-bomb, but he can do whatever he wants. He can
he has a right. He has a right to say whatever the hell he wants. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I don't care. He's a quarterback. He's got no impact on my life whatsoever. He stinks anyways. So.
He's a backup quarterback who's probably going to be cut.
Yeah, he's a backup quarterback to Blaine Gabbert, so I could care less what his opinion really is anyways. So, all right. So that's it for me. You got anything else or?
No, that's it.
All right, sounds great. So be sure to like us on our Facebook page. We don't tweet at all from my page either. I mean, very, very bad at that as well. But stay up to date. Hope you guys watched the show and enjoyed it today. Hopefully we'll be bringing better content, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.